How's it going, everybody? RyeBrand here today, and today we are starting a brand new series. You guys know it as the Summer Savior series, but this year it's going to be a little bit different. Normally, I take a team who is wallowing in the depths, just can't figure it out, and just can't get on the right path, and I try and take them throughout the summer and get them to be a cup contender. But this year, guys, the stage is set too perfectly. Those of you that have already clicked on the video, you know what it is. It's the Toronto Maple Leafs, the biggest team in the National Hockey League, biggest fan base, biggest, well, I don't know if it's the biggest market, but maybe the biggest hockey market in North America. And today, guys, Dubas is out, we are in, and the NHL has a plan to get the Leafs back on track. So Commissioner Gary Bettman has come up with a clever idea that surprisingly all owners have signed off on, some maybe due to their own hubris, or those also looking at the bottom, looking to get back on track. The NHL will have its first ever fantasy draft. The fans are going nuts, and everybody sees through it. This is a ploy to make the Toronto Maple Leafs competitive again, and despite that commotion in the streets, Gary Bettman has announced that he will be the one picking the players in the fantasy draft for the Maple Leafs, no longer trusting the Maple Leafs organization and new general manager GM RyeBread to make the right decisions. He will set the franchise off the way he sees fit. So we are just going to let the AI auto draft our fantasy draft here. And I will randomize Gary Bettman. He's got the lottery, right? I want to show you guys. I got my finger on the Y button. So here we go. We are going to see where we are picking. And Gary Bettman has rigged it for us. We are getting the first overall pick in the fantasy draft. Oh my word. I can't believe it, guys. I literally just pushed that once. We have the first overall pick, but of course I don't get to make it, but I'm hoping Gary Bettman does not screw it up. So guys, here at number 1 overall, obviously there's only one way that I think the AI would go here. I really don't see them taking, I mean, the next best guy would probably be Matthews, you know, just because he's a year younger than McDavid, but there's no way that I think that Bettman is going to pass up on giving Connor McDavid, taking him from the Oilers and giving him to the Leafs. So we will go ahead and see just exactly what they are going to pick for us. And there we go. We're now at our second round pick 64 overall, but there we go. Connor McDavid is our first overall pick. And with the second overall pick for the Leafs, Gary Bettman has decided to take Jordan Kyrou, the right wing playmaker from the, well, previously of the St. Louis Blues, now the line mate of Connor McDavid. Taking a look here, we have actually a pretty solid start. Oh, I have to go into make pick and then drafted players. But there you guys can see we have McDavid and Kyrou, a young core. Kyrou, I don't know if he's got a contract extension or not, but he's got a couple X factors. And with 1 year left on his deal, we'll see how much cap space we're left with. But that's a great 1-2 punch so far. Let's find out who they pick with the third pick, the first round, or the first pick in the third round. And with the third pick in the third pick for the Leafs, we are going to get Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. We might as well just be the Edmonton Oilers at this point. Why didn't I just do a summer series of the Oilers? I should have just done that, but we have McDavid and Nugent-Hopkins, and now we are on the clock yet again. We'll see what we get. There's still some really intriguing names out there. I'd love a defenseman sometime soon, you know, considering we've got a good center core. I mean, elite center core now. That's a great deal for Nugent-Hopkins. And then Kyrou, a young up-and-coming winger. I'd like to see a goalie or a defenseman, but I don't get control. And with the fourth pick, they're going to go with Dawson Mercer. Okay, a right winger, maybe a second line winger, right? Like he's solid 6 foot. I mean, he's 20, right? He's medium top 6, a young. Maybe they're building for the future here, trying to keep us out of the cap predicament that the Leafs were previously in. So far, no defenders still, but we are now ready to keep going here. And at the fifth pick, guys, I will jump between picks a little bit more, but we do have one more pick to get to. Let's see who we have gotten. And it is Vince Dunn. Sorry, I scrolled. went a little too far, but it is Vince Dunn, our first defenseman. He having a great year for the Seattle Kraken, no longer gets to do that, and now makes his way to Toronto to be our number 1 defenseman. And there we have it, guys. 3 more picks go off the board. With our 6th round pick, we took Romanov, a solid young defenseman, followed it up with Vejmelka, a young goaltender. I mean, there is a lot of youth and upside to this team right now. And then we take Evander Kane, who... like, listen, again, maybe Gary Bettman just really, really likes the Oilers, but there's another player from the Oilers now taken to your Leafs. I'll go through a couple more picks, and I mean, honestly, I can't really be upset with how this team is shaping up. Maybe a little weak defensively, but I'm kind of satisfied with how the team looks so far. Bettman's doing a great job. We have officially made it through 15 picks, and just after Evander Kane went, Dante Fabro, Alex Newhook, Oliver Chillington, Dylan Dubé, Kyler Yamamoto, Tyson Jost, and Jaden Schwartz. Honestly, guys, I really, really like the core that we're getting with this draft so far. I mean, let's just take a look at the players. Right, we got McDavid and Nugent Hopkins down the middle. We'll start from the back out. We've got Vejmelka, like I said, 26 years old, solid enough, right, starter. Not going to complain about that. The defensive core, I mean, Vince Dunn's going to lead the way, and then we got Romanov, Fabro and Chillington. I mean, honestly, it's got some good upside to it too. Alexander Romanov, super young. I mean, I guess we're just kind of accumulating a bunch of Canadian players, like Canadian team players. Chillington, Romanov, and then you take a look at the forwards, right? We got McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, Evander Kane. I mean, right there, that's the Oilers. Oh, by the way, we also got Yamamoto, right? But yeah, I mean, honestly, I can't be too upset with the way that the core of this team is going. There's a good balance of youth and experience on this team. I think we're getting put in a pretty good spot, and cap-wise, things still look good. We're only halfway, though. A lot more can change, and maybe, just maybe, Bettman may throw a wrench in the system at some point. We have made it through the first 23 players of this draft, simming every draft pick. After Schwartz went, it was Ole Mata, Jordan Binnington to be our backup, Heponiemi, Middleton, Lauko, Gustafsson, Bolduc, and Zellweger. We've got some really, really good mix here, guys. I'm pretty satisfied. Honestly, I'm really, really happy with how this is looking. We'll look at the goalies again. Obviously, Binnington, that contract, that's the one that's going to hurt. 5 years, $6 million for our backup. I mean, I guess for the next 3 years, it's just under 9, which is certainly not that bad. But then you take a look at the defense. We got Dunn, Fabro. Obviously, you guys saw them. Mata, Middleton, and Zellweger. So we have a little bit of youth and excitement in the pipeline here with Olin Zellweger, I believe previously of the Anaheim Ducks. 70 overall at 18, still has plenty of room to grow. It's a really good rating for just 18 years old. And then taking a look at the forwards here. You know, we've got Heponiemi, 23 years old, Gustafsson, 22 years old, of the Anchorage Voyagers, if you guys have seen my Honolulu Hammerheads. If not, make sure to check out that franchise mode. A ton of fun in that series. Lauko here, Jacob Lauko, and then Bolduc here. So another young, upsidey player, 19 at 67. He's got to do some really serious growing if I'm going to continue to have him on the roster. But hey, I can't really complain, and with 15.9 million left, we have to finish out the rest of this draft. So give me 1 second, guys. We're going to sim to the end of this draft, and we will see the final product that we are dealt to see if we can save the Toronto Maple Leafs. And there we have it. The next 9 picks, just like that, sim to the entire draft. Seems to just make it a lot quicker. But Hildebrand, Doc, Kapanen, Savoy, Vonner, maybe probably Vonner, Hellison, Milna, Vukojevic, and Misek. Okay, so honestly, not too many notable names, at least from my memory there. But overall, I can't be too upset with how this team has turned out. And guys, we have now a chance to take a look at the lines and see what we could have going forward today. No, I do not want the coach to make any changes, but there we go. So there are the lines. The bottom 6 is rough, but then again, I think everybody's going to have a tough bottom 6. We are lucky enough to have Connor McDavid. It's so weird to see the Leafs logo next to McDavid. Leafs fans, I'm sure you guys are jumping in the streets. I had no intention of giving myself 1 overall. You guys saw me. I pushed it once. We got 1st overall. We went with it. And there there it was. I mean, there's Connor McDavid and then Nugent Hopkins, Kyrou. I mean, that is one heckin' good core. Evander Kane, Nugent Hopkins, the elder statesman, along with Schwartz. Dawson Mercer, though, in the top 6, a really, really good sniper. I mean, really solid. I'm actually excited to see how he just goes and grows. But then we got Kyler Yamamoto, Tyson Jost, and Dylan Dubé. I honestly like this line a lot. This is like those mid-20s. They're probably going to be like a third liner. Maybe Yamamoto's got the opportunity to be a second liner someday, but this is like a really good third line that I'd be very happy with. You've got the two-way forward playmaker, right? So these guys, if they can finish, Yamamoto's going to be setting them up. And then in the bottom, the fourth line, you got Lauko, Gustafsson, and Heponiemi. Playmaker, power forward, two-way forward. So again, not a lot of intrigue there, but some youth, right? I mean, 22, 23. So we'll see. A good season out of them, who knows? But then take a look at the defense. You got Dunn and Fabro, Romanov and Shillington, and then Mata and Jacob Middleton. Now, Jacob Middleton scratched. We got New Hook and Bolduc scratch. So I would personally like to see us scratch Gustafsson, keep Jacob Lauko, who is a two-way forward, power forward, playmaker. Swap him out for Alex Newhook, and then probably flip Newhook there. He's medium top 6, a really, really well-rounded player. Play him with Yamamoto and Dubé a little bit more going forward. And Tyson Jost is that perfect checking line forward, where Dylan Dubé is that scoring line forward, right? So Yamamoto, Newhook, Dubé, that's a third scoring line. And here we have our checking line right here. Heponiemi's listed as a depth forward, but we know we've got Gustafsson as a backup option, who's also a checking line member. But like I said, Oli Mata and Jacob Middleton, maybe we flip-flop this and we move Middleton up to get the +1 with Romanov. Maybe Romanov moves up to get the +2 with Dunn, and then we get the 0 there. This bottom pairing's not really that great with each other. Dante Fabro is really only a top 6 guy for us. Surprisingly, he does not. I think I would rather have the +1, but that is what it is. And then obviously you guys saw in goal, we've got Vejmelka and Binnington. And now I kind of want to take a look around the Atlantic and see what every team, where they ended up, right? Who are going to be the big contenders? Because it's going to be totally different, right? Like previously we'd say the Lightning and the Bruins and the Panthers, they're going to be really good, but we have no idea right now who the tough teams are in the division. We will start with the Boston Bruins, and it looks like they're deciding to go all in right now. That's one of the things that's interesting, right? Some teams could, maybe they picked in the back half and they don't get as good of players, but they can get more younger talent. Maybe they just prioritize younger talent, or maybe they just want to go for it, right? The youngest guy really here is Konechny, and then obviously Chinakhov, but really there's a lot of experience on this Bruins team, which is not unlike the real life Bruins team being one of the highest average ages in the league. But Konechny, Point, Tarasenko, with those X factors, that is going to be a very, very good first line with Kopp, Sagan, and Chinakhov. We'll see how Chinakhov does on this second line. And then Zacha, Backlund, Boyd, that's solid. And their fourth line is their fourth line. A little bit better than ours, I would say. Not too much, though. But then defensively, they got Slavin and Seider. Wow, did Boston make out? They got Mo, Seider, and Jacob Slavin. I mean, that's going to be a duo for at least the next 5 years. We'll see how they do contract-wise. We'll have to see cap space. But, I mean, for the next 2 years, right? Moritz Seider's got his 2-year deal. Dahan, Muzzin, and then Anderson, Alexei. This is a good team. What did they do in goal? And they got Vitek Vanacek. They have Justin Wohl as well as their backup. So the Boston Bruins are gonna be another good team. Next up, we have the Buffalo Sabres, my favorite team. And I'm a little bit disappointed. Now, I love to see Sam Reinhart back for the Sabres, but it doesn't look like there's a lot of excitement around this team. The forward core is pretty average. I mean, you got Tim Stützle, right? He's going to be phenomenal. You got Gabriel Landeskog, a really experienced veteran who's been there and done it. And then Jakub Vrana on the first line. It's not bad. Schenn and then Reinhart with Vetrano. I mean, we'll see. The bottom six, they probably have the most depth of any team that we've seen so far, but they don't have that top-end talent. And then when you look at the blue line, right, they got Pulak and Noah Dobson. So maybe they're going to try and play some Islanders hockey. I don't know. But Gavrikov, Eric Johnson, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, and Matt Roy, I don't know how you say it, but I mean, it's not bad, right? It's solid enough, but It's not really a team that I feel all that threatened by. And then in goal, they got Philip Gustafsson and Capo Kakinen. So some moderately young goaltenders. Philip Gustafsson does have plenty of time to grow. Scratch, they got Yolanen and Lamoureux. So really interesting to see that what the Buffalo Sabres are doing. I would say that right now, we're better than Buffalo, not as good as Boston. And Stevie Y and the Detroit Red Wings seem to have gone all in on the youth aspect. This is what I was mentioning, guys, is that some teams may just try and get those high potential players and be a factor in the future. Brock Besser here, 84-25, Bartzell 25-88, Buchnevich 27-88, Mason McTavish 1982, Hurdle 28-87, right? They got a good mix of late 20s, early 20s. They got Rasmussen here at 23, Juuso Parssinen at medium top 9. They got Morgan Barron, medium top 9, Nils Hoglander, medium top 6, Atu Ratti, 19 low elite, right? Connor Zary, medium top 6, and Brendan Brisson, medium top 6 at 20. So they really went all in on potential. And then look at the blue line. They got Victor Hedman, 31, Brady Shea at 28, Cam York, though, 21, Jake Wallman, 26, Korchinski, 18, medium elite, and Dylan Sandberg, a solid enough 6th defenseman, right? So this team is one of those that's going to be balancing between the aging players, probably trying to build around Barzal as soon as possible, while also giving room for these youngsters to grow. And taking a look in goal, they've got Eunice Korpisalo and Mackenzie Blackwood, so some solid enough goaltenders, but not really much room to grow for either of them. And then scratch, they got Mintyukov and Philip Mizar. I mean, more elite talent in the pipeline. Not a team I'm worried about now, but one that I will be very worried about in the future. Next up, we have the Florida Panthers, who currently have half a foot in the Stanley Cup Finals in real life, but here they're going to have to do it with a brand new team. Jonathan Marchessault, Sebastian Aho, and Alex Tuch, a really, really solid first line. I mean, that's one that like may not wow you with you know, overalls, but as far as what they do in the sim and what they do on real life anyway, I think this is a great first line. Second line of Casey Middlestat, still has top 6 potential, though it may be a low. Ivan Barbashev and Jack Roslovic, so some guys in their early to mid 20s. And then in their bottom 6, they got Max Jones, Nico Sturm, Martin Kaut, and then Samuel Poulin, Ryder Korchak, who's medium top 6. I mean, again, the bottom 6 seems to be filled with a decent amount of talent. However, this is the first team we've seen built around the blue line. Quinn Hughes and Erik Karlsson. That is the offensive defenseman pairing of dreams. Rest in peace, Stuart Skinner, when these two guys are on the ice, because you are getting no assistance from anybody, so you better be good. But boy, oh boy, can these two guys put up some points. And they got Darnell Nurse and Ethan Bear. I mean, they said, you know, forget defense. We're going with some really good puck movers. And they got Riley Stillman and Nick Blankenberg. Actually, the high top 4 from Blankenberg. Offensive defenseman, there's our first defensive defenseman. Now, Nurse and Bear, they're two-ways, right? So they'll do a job. But I've always looked at them as more offensive two-way players than defensive two-way players. Although Darnell Nurse, pretty solid on both ways. Next, we have the Montreal Canadiens, who have loaded their first line. Barkov centering Patrick Kane and William Nylander. They said, screw the rest of the team. We got one line. That's all we need. That's what we're going for. Sean Farrell, 78-20, Anton Lundell, medium elite young player, right? So they've got somebody waiting in the wings to grow. Brian Rust, solid player for the middle 6. Charlie Coyle, Barrett Hayton, Philip Tomasino. I mean, there's another really solid up-and-coming player. Barrett Hayton, same thing. Charlie Coyle, some veteran. This is going to be a really interesting team. They got Peyton Krebs, medium top 6. Joe Veleno, medium top 6. Logan O'Connor, medium top 9. But still, this team is, that first line is going to carry, but they shouldn't be that far away for very long, right? Anton Lundell with the medium elite. Tomasino's already an 81. Hayton's an 82, and these guys are both medium top 6. We'll see what Sean Farrell does at 20, 78, medium top 6 as well. Taking a look at their blue line, they got Mackenzie Weegar and John Marino. And, you know, Marcus Pettersson, Robin Salo, Mario Ferraro, and Derek Forbort. It's fine. It's nothing that I'm like eye-popping, jumping out. But they got Jacob Markstrom in goal at 32. For a goalie, he's still got quite a few years left. And he might be able to make up for some of that lacking in depth and that lacking in defensive depth as well. I got Dennis Cholofsky and Noah Ostlund as well. So that's actually, I believe that's the Sabres prospect there. So, well, interesting to see how he does. But the Montreal Canadiens, that first line, that's pretty tough. Staying in Canada, next we have the Ottawa Senators. They look good. They look ready to just perform right now. Gensel, Giroux, they kept Giroux. They were like, hey, we loved him. We want him back. And Zach Hyman, David Perron, David Krejci, and Matt Zuccarello. So certainly youth is lacking in the top six. Let me just put it that way. Jake Gensel, their youngest player, not much room to grow. Actually, no room to grow unless it's statistics. But then we got Mark Jankowski with Dylan Strome and Wade Allison, Danton Heinen, Michael McLeod, and Anton Blid. I mean, this is as solid as a forward core as I think we've seen maybe since Boston. This might topple Boston just because of the depth aspect. I'm not sure. That second line is probably the best second line we've seen so far. On the blue line, too, they've got Mikhail Sergachev, Ryan Ellis, Luke Shen, and Michael Matheson, Ryan McDonough, and Robert Hagg. Other than Hagg, these guys are all very, very good options. This is probably the best team in the division. And they got Vasilevsky. How did they manage this team? Ottawa, look at you guys. With Dreiger as the backup, that's not even that bad. I was going to say scratch, give me some medium elite prospects. No, none of those. But I got to say that this team's probably better than us. I'd say right now we're probably in a fight for that third wild card spot. We still have a couple more teams left. Or maybe it's just the Lightning. I always think of Toronto, but we are Toronto. And this is, in fact, the last team we will be checking out. And boy, oh boy, we're going to end on another good team. Brady Tkachuk, Chandler Stevenson, and Nikolai Ehlers. That's a really solid top line. And then their second line. I was just talking about second lines. They got Nazem Kadri between Duclair and Zucker, Sonny Milano with Trocheck and Nick Patan, and then Noah Cates, Chris Tierney, and Marcus Johansson. I mean, guys, this is a really, really solid forward core. Then you take a look at the defense, and they got Zach Werenski with Brent Burns, Shane Gostisbehere with Kevin Shattenkirk, and then Nick Leddy with Mark Pysyk. I mean, this is another really, really good team. And then in goal, they got Hellebuck and Reimer. I mean, this is a great team. And now all of a sudden, I'm looking at us as a wild card team. I mean, am I crazy for thinking that we are a wild card team? Just wanted to refresh you guys on our lines. I think we can definitely snatch a divisional spot. I don't think we're going to win the division. Again, we do have McDavid, who could just end up being the X factor in propelling us, carrying that extra load that we don't quite have that depth yet. We don't quite have the defensive core of some of these other teams. While ours is pretty good, really solid, I'd say. I can't complain about it. Some of these other teams in our division, Ottawa is the one that I'm afraid of. Ottawa, Boston, and I think Florida are some teams that I'm pretty concerned about. Tampa and us are probably going to be right there about it. Buffalo and Detroit probably going to be at the bottom. Montreal, we'll see how their top line carries them, but I feel like us, Montreal, Tampa, will all be in the same spot with Boston and Ottawa and really kind of pulling away in this division. That's really what I see right now. I believe we still have our picks and our prospects that we would have anyway. You guys can see that we've got 68 million in cap, so like 14 million in cap space. 14.23 million in cap space. Taking a look at rookie skaters. Yes, so we actually don't have as many as I thought. I don't think we actually get to keep all of our prospects. I think that's actually the case here. So let's go ahead and see the cap situation of our rivals. Boston only just under 7 million. Buffalo with 13 million, so they're going to be right there. Next, we've got the Detroit Red Wings, who look like they've got a good amount of cap space. Yes, 15. Next, the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers are up there in cap. They're close. 4.5 million, under 5 million. That's not great. The Montreal Canadiens listed as a seller, 13.7. So they've also got a good amount of cap space. Ottawa, I don't think they should have. Yeah, they've got 750,000. They are spending right up to the cap. They are a buyer, though. Maybe a team that we look to go get somebody off of. And then finally, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are also right up there in the cap. So, I mean, they are a good team. They're right there with us. But the fact that we have 14 million and they have none, right? They've got 700,000. Same thing with Ottawa. Boston's the one team that they've got a little bit of cap room. They got a little bit of flexibility, and they're listed as a seller. I don't agree with that. They want to get rid of Slavin, Sagan, Kopp. I don't agree with the fact that this team is a seller. I don't know what their GM is doing, what they are thinking. I think they are one of the better teams in the division. Probably not the best team in the division. I believe that award would go to the Ottawa Senators. Just on paper, this team has everything. It's got depth. It's got talent. It's a really, really solid team. And like I said, they may not have that eye-popping, you know, like the Boston's first line in real life, how they're all like 91 overall, right? They may not have that, but for a fantasy draft, you got to remember, having 2 good lines is probably better than most teams in the league have. It's certainly more than our own division, right? We saw the Montreal Canadiens being that team that decided to go with those high overalls, those really, really talented players, but didn't really back them up with too much. All right, so that's probably an area where Montreal is going to be weak. I think that's an area where we actually got lucky, and Bettman treated me nicely and gave me a good amount of overalls all around the board, and some youth as well. Nobody really over 30. Kane and Schwartz, and that's it, guys. Those are the only guys over 30 on the roster. So we've got a roster that maybe needs a couple pieces or two, maybe a veteran or two, but I don't see why we can't compete right from the off. And I think that's what I'm going to try and do. We're listed as a seller. I don't agree with that. That'll probably change as the season goes on. But one thing I did want to check out was our expiring contracts. Vince Dunn, Tyson Jost, Newhook. Honestly, really not too bad, although Dunn does not want to come back. He really didn't want to leave Seattle, apparently. He wants about $6-7 million, which I think is fine. We'll have to see how he sims for us. But ultimately, I think we're fine with this. Alex Newhook, give me a little glimpse into your growth. Doesn't look exciting, but I would say that maybe 4 years at $2 million, I wouldn't be upset by that at all. I really think 4 years at $2 million would be a pretty good deal for Alex Newhook. But guys, I'm not going to do any simulating in this one. I wanted to introduce you to the team, introduce you to the teams around us, and introduce you to the Summer Savior Series. If those of you are new, make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you want to see more of this, if you want to see me pump out a little bit more chill content this summer. And I will catch you guys in the next one.
It's a free-for-all before we fall. It's a free-for-all before we fall.